Welcome everyone, my name is Jeff St. Laurent and this is the Tuesday Live Show, and today the topic is what to do when you don't want to do what you have to do. How's that? So there are going to be times where you don't want to do what you have to or should be doing in your business, and you got to do them anyways. And today was one of those days for me, and I'll share a little bit more. And I feel it was a candid space to come from. And I want to, after doing this now for 17 years, you can imagine that there's been a lot of days where I don't want to do what I know I was supposed to do, and I have to do it. And so I've been able to understand myself and some elements that I want to share with you today, which hopefully will help you on the process, especially as you're getting started. Because sometimes not sometimes, but when you're starting off, I think and believe it's a lot more challenging to push through those challenging moments or emotions when you're just feeling and in order to move forward. And I'll tell you why it's even easier as you are further into business. But before I get going, I do record all of my Tuesday live shows. I put them on my university at sellingcoaching.com. So check that out. I help coaches transition to a full-time business. A lot of great resources there. So on the homepage of sellingcoaching.com, you can enter your name and email. You get an audio resource I did called Launching Your Coaching Business, the first 3 vital steps. And that also puts you in my email community where I have a lot of great information I share on a weekly basis. With that being said, for those of you watching this now or the recording of this, I do have a 5-month GoPro Elite group mentor coaching program. And that is something where I work with you in a small group of people. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be launching that in the next couple of weeks. I'll be starting to promote that to my audience. And I'm going to put that in the chat if you're watching this live, or if you're watching the recording of this should be in the text below. So I'm going to put that in there right now. And this way, if you want to take a look at that, if you click that link, that's going to take you to, I just put it in there now. That's going to take you to a page where you enter your name and email, and then it will take you to a page that's going to give you more information about the program. I have a 13-minute video I did in there more about the program. If you feel the timing's right and what you hear suits you, like you work well in groups, etc., you're ready to move forward, and you would value my mentorship in a group, you just fill out that form, and then we're going to get on the phone, have a conversation, and we can go from there. So anyways, that starts in a couple weeks, so check that out with the link that I have down below. With that being said, let's jump into this topic is what to do when you don't want, I got to read it because it's like, I can't remember what I wrote, right? Is what to do when you don't want to do what you have to do. There's a lot of to-dos in there. Whew, that's exhausting. So, and this came from yesterday. Last week I got my second COVID shot, and it like just rocked me. Like for a couple of days I was in bed. My son was like that too, and just, high fever, things like that. And even through the weekend, even up until yesterday, I just wake up with this like massive headache that just wouldn't go away. So I was just more run down, I think, than usual. I wasn't sleeping well. And, once I got my energy back, late last week after the fever was down, I still was doing things. So when I wasn't sleeping at night, so I think I was run down coming into this week. And yesterday I had, just some things go wrong at home, nothing major, right? And then I have a couple rental properties, and one of my tenants texted me and called me, right before my client started in the morning. The front door to the apartment was kicked in and was hanging on the hinges, and sent a picture. And this was a new door I had just put in 2 months prior, and redid all the hallways. And I'm just like, oh. And so yesterday I was just like, oh my God. It was like one of those days. And I had some client calls, and the client calls are great. I mean, that's enjoyable. But then there were just little elements I had to do that I didn't want to do them. And even the show, I'm like, oh, I had to write the thing. What am I doing on my Tuesday live show tomorrow? And I'm like, oh, I don't even care. I don't even want to do this show. And this morning I had to get up early. Instead of golfing, I had to go to the apartments and, fix the door, have conversations with people, what's going on, those challenging and difficult conversations. And I literally shot back here, did my hair a little bit, and got out of my work clothes, threw this, golf shirt on from yesterday, which still smells from yesterday because I needed the shirt. I'm being totally transparent right now. And I'm like, 3, 2, 1, put the camera microphone on, and I'm like, I'm gonna do my show. And so, and then I felt this was like a perfect topic. Now I'm actually excited to be here. It's not that I don't want to be doing this at all. I'm actually excited to be here now because I'm settled into this, and I'm excited about the topic, and it's a real topic. And I know, and I always teach my clients, I'm like, you got to show up where you're at sometimes. And that's the best tip I'll give you for today, right out of the gates, is, what to do when you don't want to do what you have to do is show up where you're at. Because here's what I want to ingrain in you. If you really want to create a long-term business, showing up, how about not showing up, isn't an option. Right? So me not doing this live show today wasn't an option. This just wasn't an option. Now, I've been doing this for a while, obviously, since 2004, 17 plus years as of this show. I've got some discipline behind me. I've got some consistency behind me, etc. But it never once crossed my mind, oh, I'm not going to do my show. I'm not going to promote the event. Right? It was just there. But rewind a dozen years plus, back 2004, 2005, when I was starting this off, it would have been a lot easier, especially when I'm starting off or you're starting off. There's no one's watching you too closely. No one cares whether you do your show or not. No one cares. Even now, there's some people watching live. There's some people that watch the recording of this now or in the future, or maybe not, right? But it's not like if I didn't show up today, no one's really gonna care. They're just gonna go on with their lives, And I've been doing it for a while. And if you're starting off, like if you don't show up live or write the email or do some of the thing you're marketing or call people and things like that or follow up, hate to say it, but no one really cares. No one's going to really notice, right? And in the beginning, sometimes that's good. It's good that no one cares or no one shows up because sometimes we're nervous or we're not presenting or doing the things at the level we maybe feel comfortable at or want to or have the confidence to do them. So maybe it's not such a bad thing that no one shows up, but also we want people to show up, so there's that irony there as well. But the point is because no one cares also in the beginning and even maybe later on, that it's easier to give up. It's easier to not do the thing that you have to do when you don't want to do it. That's my message. For me, it's easier for me to do it because, like I said, it's part of my discipline. It's part of what I'm doing. If I don't do this today, maybe there's a handful of people that watch live that, oh, where's Jeff? Or something was wrong, or I might get an email, right? There's people there. If I didn't do it consistently enough now, it would also, people would notice because a lot of my audience are you guys who I teach. You got to show up. So if I'm not showing up, I start to lose credibility, right? So I've got that on my side, leveraging my values in my congruency of what I teach as well. So it's easier for me to do the things that I don't want to do when I have to do them. But I'm just acknowledging the fact that if you're not in that spot right now, it can be challenging. So one of the things and my best tip I have for you today is you just not showing up isn't an option. You've just got to ingrain that in your mind. Whether it's showing up for a show like this, writing an email, doing your marketing, you've just got to do it. Like there's just no other way around it. The second tip I'm going to give for you is quite simply, you just got to show up where you're at. That's why I was kind of transparent coming in here and just like didn't want to be here, didn't want to do the show. Well, I want to be here now, right? But came here this morning after this, threw on an old golf shirt. It still stinks from yesterday. I literally have my breakfast like right here, still have some egg in there that I didn't finish before my show, right? Like I'm mowing like before here because I was at the property before, fixing the door, having conversations with people, stuff I didn't want to do, right? Like it's just stuff I have to do. And I'm being transparent with that. And that became the topic of today's show. It's like what to do when you don't want to do what you have to do. So that's congruent. It's congruent with me and where I'm coming from. And I'm coming at you in this unpolished space and showing that vulnerability because it's the truth. And I'm not showing up here and I'm just like, yeah, I could still present well. I could still show well. Like maybe I could have shaved, right? But, at the end of the day, I'm not going to present a picture to you that's not real. And oftentimes when we show up, and I learned this years ago in the fitness industry. I would show up all the time, and I was this young guy who loved what he did, who full of energy, super fit, had the check boxes of a beautiful home, and was married and had the kid and family and whatever. And on the outside it was like this, everything's perfect. And that's, I didn't purposely portray that. That's just how I came across. It wasn't like I'm trying to portray my whole life's perfect, but that's just what came across. And then it was one day I was having a bad day, and I actually didn't want to be. I was teaching a group fitness class, strength training class, and I said, I'm like, man, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't want to be here today. And it was in front of like 50 people, but I'm like, you know what, I'm here because you're here. And that's it. So there's probably some of you that probably feel the same. There are people out there nodding their heads, before the workout, but I'm like, let's just kick ass. And it was like one of the best workouts I gave, one of the best workouts. I still remember to this day, like, it was freaking awesome. And after, I'm getting like emotional thinking about it, it was that good. And afterwards, there were like a bunch of people waiting for me after class, and they're like, dude, that was like the best workout ever. Like, and they're like, it was so cool. Over the weeks after that, like, oh, that workout you gave last week, or when you showed up, when you said you didn't want to be there, it was really cool because I don't ever want to be there, but I show up because you're there and you make me smile, and whatever, they were, complimenting some of the things I did. And I'm like, huh. And I learned a lot in that moment that really changed. That was a significant turning point in my life in terms of professional life, in terms, as a fitness professional, and that carried over into coaching. Is I'm like, wow, I should show more of my human side, not my side that presents and I show up and is when the camera goes live 3, 2, 1 and I'm all smiling, everything's okay. Because there was also a part of me that believed that I had to be that person, even when I wasn't there. And especially coaching, a lot of us coaches kind of feel like sometimes I'm life coaching someone, so I have to have it all together. Right? But that's not what coaching's about. Coaching's not about us having to be perfect in our lives and having to figure. That's not. We're not saying I'm the expert in my life or in my finances and my relationships and in my career and in my health, because no one would be a coach at that point. There's no one that's like that. Maybe in areas at certain times, or maybe you hit a point where you feel like everything's like awesome, but give it a couple hours and something's gonna go to crap. This is what happens. I'm not being negative. It's just the reality of it. So the point being is sometimes we feel that way, which isn't the case. The premise of coaching is like we're there to be objective and non-judgmental, to hold a space for the client where they can come to a space where they're not judged, where they can be honest and open with themselves. We can pry that out of them to gain clarity on what's actually going on in their mind, their body, their soul, with their emotions, and then decide what they want to do, and then hold them accountable for that and drive that forward. We're not there to tell anybody anything. And so when you show up in that space, when you present, when you do the work, when you're doing your webinars, your shows, your emails, any your marketing, your communications, it's important to show up where you're at, like I did today. So if you don't want to write the email, you don't want to do your show, you don't want to make the call, etc., say it. I'm not saying all the time, right? I'm not going to show up here every week and be like, man, I really don't want to do this. This sucks. Like, then you're just a drag, right? Then you've got to figure out what's going on. But there are going to be times where it's not always that you don't want to do that. It's like, oh, maybe you're frustrated with something. Maybe you're angry. Maybe you're excited. Maybe there's a whole other family of maybe you don't know how you feel. I'm feeling weird today. The best I can put on it is this. But here's what's going on. I wonder if you've ever felt like this before. Whenever I get like this, sometimes I, and just come from that space and see where you go. Because you're talking to other human beings. And especially if you're helping people through challenging situations in their life and fulfillment and career or relationships or whatever your specialty and niche is, it's odds are it's come from your story and what you've been through. The reality is you've been through some of those things, and you're somewhere along the road of that path, maybe further forward than the people that are consuming your information. But it's they'll connect with you more when you show up in that real space and you have a challenging day, because it's something that they can relate to. But then you can show them that it's not stopping me. It's not holding me back. I'm not being a victim here, right? I'm not here, and this isn't bad energy. Like, I'm not just like a Debbie Downer for, 25 minutes or however long I'm on here for. Like, I was honest with it, but I still have enthusiasm. I'm excited about it, but I was coming from that space. But I've shifted myself, right? But I was just telling you where I was. I'm doing what I'm doing, and then when I do it, I get excited because I do love what I do. And even if you're doing something you don't necessarily love, you can find some hope and excitement in that space when you get into it. Or that's the goal. We've got to find a space. When I'm helping my mentor coaching clients one-on-one in my groups, especially with marketing, or doing some activities that they're really not that fond of, I want to help pivot it and tweak it so it's a little more exciting for them, or it leverages maybe some of their unique abilities and skill sets. But sometimes things don't, and they've got to do them anyways. And so I say, I got to help them in those moments or in those spaces. Like, find what excites you. Find a small thread of what you're doing that's exciting, and focus on it. That's going to get you through, the rest of the stuff. And that's the strategy I have for you today. Is it's still not going to be easy. There's still times where you're going to rationalize your way out of doing something, and that's okay. I'm not saying giving you permission to do that, but it's going to happen. You're a human being. However, you've got to start getting to the spot where that happens a lot less than more. So you're doing the activity a lot more than less, because that's the only way things are going to happen consistently over time. My most successful clients are the ones, they have their days, they take their days off, they have their bad moments, they push through some things, etc. But they're more often than not, they're doing the activity, which is huge. There are times where, if there's an activity that I don't want to do because I'm in a different space or whatever, and it's not like a show like this or a marketing thing, it's not like I always push through it all the time. There might be something that, like, well, that doesn't need to be done today. It needs to be done this week, or it needs to be done by Thursday, or whatever it is. But today I wanted to do it. It's not in that space. I don't just give up on it. I say, well, I can definitely do it tomorrow. When can I do it? Where, put it in my schedule and go from there. And then there's a certain point where that it can't only be rescheduled so many times. So no, I'm not saying you have to push through and force yourself through everything. There are some times where you just got to be like, yeah, I'm out of it today. So you need to take the next hour off and come back to it, or take a half day or whatever. But that can't become the norm. If you're having a bad day after a bad day after a bad day, after, even after a couple hours, we've got to be a little bit more refined now to start saying, okay, what's going on? We've got to start to get ourselves out of this, because, and I've been in moods for a day, but we got to shift our way out of that. And that's the coaching on ourselves. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. I'm excited that you're here. I'm excited that you're listening to this. I'm excited that you want to get better. You want to drive your business forward. If you require some help with that, like I said, I am available for one-on-one mentoring. And I also, in the comments below, or in the thread below, I have a link to my 5-month group program, which I will be launching in a couple of weeks. If you want to learn more about that, just click that link, and then enter your name and email. And if you're watching this another time and it's not, when I'm running another one right then and there, when you enter your name and email, that will also put you in my priority registration. So when I do run another group, you will be one of the first to know.